Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and we have an outstanding show for you. Hi-Fi Rush officially launched on the PlayStation. So, of course, those gamers over there who do not support multiple platforms and did not play this on the Xbox now have an opportunity to pick it up. The reviews are in, folks, or at least some of them, and it's getting rave reviews. You know what's interesting, though? Some of those same reviewers, which, of course, we got to keep the receipts to keep it a buck, as the kids like to say, have been brought forward by someone like, say, like the Black Viking, who's been out there. Obviously, Post Up is another one who's been like, oh, here we go. It's already started. And it turns out that not only is Hi-Fi Rush a good game, which, of course, you can see on your screen, it's a phenomenal game, but the hashtag Xbox tax is in full effect. That 5-point bump that everyone's talking about, well, we have a perfect example of that. And who brought that to my attention? Best bald head in the business, Fuzzy Belvedere. What's going on, brother? Welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me on here. Did some running around yesterday with the wife. School field trip to the NSA. Yeah, that was kind of interesting.
Hey, that's fire.
Hey, hello.
But yeah, glad to be here with you guys. Always awesome being on a podcast with Steel. And as always, Boom, enjoy being on here with you guys. But man, Twitter's been, a strange place where, like you said, people forgot they played games and got them refunded because apparently the music sucked or didn't click with them back then. But
yes,
I didn't realize the music changed. Maybe I'm missing something, but it's funny. The Xbox tax we all talked about rearing its ugly head again. But
hashtag double standard. Again, folks, listen, we had a couple of people here early. Hopefully they're still here because obviously everyone is welcome. It doesn't matter what platform that you rock. Your opinions do matter. But there are a lot of people in the gaming community suggesting that this Xbox tax is a myth. It is the Loch Ness monster. And I think we're starting to see that now. I really cannot wait for the Sea of Thieves reviews. Now, I'm going to be fair here. When Sea of Thieves first launched, it deserved the 60 meta that it got because it lacked content, right? It was very bare bones. I was in there in Inception. I played it from the beginning. I had some fun. I played with, some community members. And obviously, my story of getting Jack trying to play, solo. You can't do that now. You can with the Safer Shores, which I think I'm going to get into. But it is now a really finite product. What I am disappointed about the gaming media is that after Sea of Thieves got its sea legs, pun intended, no one took the time to re-review it based on how great it is now. And what we're going to see is the reviews come out for Sony, and because it's going to be launching on the PlayStation soon, it is probably going to get very good reviews. And it's going to obviously raise the meta, which, I'm happy for Rare. I'm not here to console war for anybody. I'm happy for the developers that have really put their heads down and gone to work on making this a better product. And obviously, there's almost 40 million players. There's a reason why that is. But Steel Rain, what's going on, brother? How you feeling?
What's going on, Boom? And I've been all right. It's always good to be back in the Xbox Factor podcast kingdom. And we got Fuzzy here today, man. We're going to have a good time. And just speaking about the tax, man, again, it seems like we just continue to get more and more evidence for whatever you want to call it, a bias, a preference, whatever it is. But to your point, Boom, I do think although Sea of Thieves did launch in a rough state, it does make it unique because it will have that chance to be re-rated, and hopefully people can see what the game is for truly what it is. So there we go. Glad to be here.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you here, obviously. Now, there is somebody missing from the panel. Infinite Umber is not sleeping. He did not fall asleep and stay sleeping because he does work midnights, folks. He did reach out to me. Unfortunately, he got stuck at work late. So he will be, of course, joining us next Tuesday. He might find his way to Friday morning show as he does sometimes when he misses this show. So, of course, if he's going to be there, we'll have his phenomenal opinions for the panel as well as everybody on Breakfast at Boom. But Fuzzy, let's get into it because again, citing the Black Viking. Now, again, I do have to do this because the Black Viking is a community member that has exploded on the scene. Obviously, he is partnered with Black Skellington and Supernova. They do a show, or actually quite a few shows per week. And the name of the podcast is the Longhouse Gaming Podcast, one that you should add to your, I would say, preferred listening pleasure on a weekly basis, like myself, like Fuzzy, like Steel Rain on Living Split Screen. They put out phenomenal content, and he put out an even better tweet. And he said this yesterday, Fuzzy Belvedere. I'm going to you first because you brought it to my attention. It's such an exhausting Monday. Either you do or you don't own an Xbox. Oh, wait, look, there, you did play Hi-Fi Rush last year. Push Square should make some edits. Now, who and what he is talking about, folks, is an reviewer by the name of Jamie, and he works for Push Square. Now, famously or infamously, he made a pretty substantial statement regarding Hi-Fi Rush last year. And in his review, he actually said, Fuzzy Belvedere, he wishes that he could give Hi-Fi Rush a better review, but it's not on PlayStation. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So he said this in a tweet. I reviewed Hi-Fi Rush for Push Square. Played this last year on Xbox, but didn't quite get a chance to fully experience it. So I made sure to change that with the PlayStation 5 release. Check out my review here. And so you might be wondering, folks in the chat, well, what is Boom talking about, this Xbox tax? Well, I don't understand how it being on Xbox only makes someone actually said, well, I would have given this a higher review if it would have been multi-platinum on PlayStation, so I gave it a lower review because it's only on Xbox. And then come back a year later to say that this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And, you know, and again, folks, we're not making this stuff up. We have heard, and people, some of the reviews that I have read so far have said, well, this just feels right on PlayStation, 9.5 out of 10. Now, when you put that in your review, I'm sorry to say there is gleaming and glaring Xbox tax for everyone. And again, if you don't believe it, I'm not going to fight with you. But let's break this down, Father. You were talking about this with me right before we went live about forgetting that you actually played the game, and now all of a sudden remembering and now playing the game on your preferred platform and giving it a better review because it's on your preferred platform. I don't know what that's called. Bias, favoritism, tax.
It's all of the above to some extent. Like that guy in particular, and there was several that got exposed yesterday, and I even called for, oh no, it's Alex, to turn his exposed, little dance and song into a GIF, because we need that on Twitter ASAP. But it was just funny to me that this was a person that played the game, got enough achievements to go through it, and it didn't quite click for them. The exclusivity, even though they played it, was the issue with it.
Right.
It's like, wait, but you're getting to play it. You have access to it. You're playing it. What's wrong? But it comes to PlayStation, and now all of a sudden it's a 9.5, and which is great for the team over at Tango Gameworks. It's great for the IP itself. But it just seems like you weren't really enjoying it before because it was exclusive over there, but now it's on your preferred platform. All of a sudden, everything's is sunshine and rainbows. It's kind of strange to me. And we joked about this way in the past, where it's like, oh, a PlayStation banger gets like a 5-point boost. And if you're going to see something from that same journal or same website get a lower score, on the Xbox side, and people have always said, oh, it's fewer reviews, blah blah blah, whatever the case is, they give it a lower number, and then it seems it's like within 4 or 5 points of what it was on that same site, just on the other hardware. is it that the hardware made the game better, or you're just, blinded by your, favoritism kind of thing? But there was another guy that was even more egregious in this whole matter where, he was like, oh, I played it for a bit. The music didn't quite click with me, so I refunded it. So
Yeah.
this is a rhythm game with music, and none of the songs changed. But now, all of a sudden, the game is a 9.5 as well, that he's playing it on his PlayStation. Now, I guess you could say maybe it's the DualSense controller, but then that would be the highlight. Or the low light when you went to refund it, I feel disconnected from the game. The music isn't clicking with me. But now, is it because the music, you have the volume turned up on the speaker on your controller? Is that why it's clicking? Because it's closer to your ears or something? Or is it, you weren't wearing a headset when you had it on Steam, and now you're wearing a headset when you're playing on your PS5? It just feels weird that they have like selective memory, like, because they were being punished by playing it on an Xbox or on their
Yes.
PC. The game was, I wouldn't go as far as saying trash, but it was like less than their expectations. But now it's on their preferred platform where their friends are and their library is, and they always like to play there. Magically, all of those, X's or all of those bad traits have magically disappeared. So it's just funny to me to see them kind of jumping through hoops now, kind of backtracking and explaining, well, I didn't really get to play it much. Like, well, did you do like some people tend to do? They buy the game, they go through like a cutscene, and oh, I'm done. This is trash. I'm done playing it, to get a refund just for clicks. And now you realize, oh, it was a good game. I probably should have played through it, but then I would have probably learned to like Xbox. And how would I explain that to my friends and family? Or I don't know. It's just weird behavior with the journalists out there, in many regards, where it just feels like they want you to believe that they're actually reviewing these games, whether it's on
Yes.
Xbox or PC or PlayStation. But if it's like we said, if it's not on their preferred platform, there's already this -5, score or stigma on the game from get-go, because I don't like these opposing, or I don't like the way the controller is on the Xbox. I'm used to having thumbsticks touch type of thing, weird stuff like that. But yeah, it's been funny, and I guess you could say not reassuring, but it's been vindicated that the Xbox tax exists. And the more and more that they try to disprove or explain away that, oh, well, didn't really have time to review it properly then, and now you magically have time to properly review it. Maybe you shouldn't have reviewed it when you didn't have time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a bunch of Xbox tax out there is basically what it is.
No, I think really what it does for all of us, as again, that's the thing that I find odd. Steele is a multi-plat podcaster and multi-plat gamer. I'm a multi-plat gamer. I play my Switch every day, play the Xbox every day as well. When there's something for me to play on PlayStation, especially when it's exclusive, I'm on it, right? No, and if it's a 9 out of 10, if it's a 10 out of 10, I come out here and I'm like, this game was phenomenal. Like, for instance, Spider-Man gets a lot of slack. Spider-Man 2 I'm talking about. A lot of people didn't like it. I loved it. I haven't beaten it yet. Now, I'm going to be fair. I'm about 3/4 of the way through, and I lost touch with it because there are too many games, and I don't only have all I have is 2 eyes, and if you count glasses, 4, and 2 hands, right? So I mean, I'm limited to what I can do. So I'm going to get back to it. I'm probably going to beat it in the next couple, because I'm Spider-Man hype crazy, because Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters, and I even publicly admit I'm an apologist for Peter Parker and company, right? So I really like what Insomniac did. But you don't see me being like, well, I don't know. Spider-Man is on Xbox, so the music bothered me. I'm going to take 10 points away. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I could have been a 10 out of 10, but the exclusivity bothered me. You'd never hear me say that, because that's stupid. I'm sorry. It's just ridiculous. Steele, you had a great intro, and you talked about the glaring bias, the tax, the favoritism, however you folks you feel comfortable make mention of it. I want to get into it, but before I do that, we have a channel member message as well as a very generous $10 super chat from Adidas20. And he says, boom, something to think about. Activision and Bethesda do have games in the PlayStation 4 store. That money now goes to Microsoft. All platforms where ABK and Bethesda games exist prior to that purchase. I mean, they're making money hand over fist. As a matter of fact, folks, in 2 days, the 21st, when Warzone Mobile launches, well, it's going to be a cash cow for Microsoft. Now, again, does that matter to me? Well, not really, because I'm not getting a dime out of it. But I can tell you that, at least in my humble opinion, when you see something like Warzone Mobile become this next big fervor for mobile gaming, and Call of Duty is still a thing, they're going to literally make so much money on this mobile game, right? That is something special, not because I'm going to play it. I registered to get the free shit. I'm not even going to lie about it. But I don't think I'm going to play. I don't even play Call of Duty Warzone on my console. So it's unlikely I'm going to play mobile. But what's interesting with this particular launch is that it's cross play, cross save. So whatever you do on mobile, you come home and it's ready to rock and roll for you. So that's a really big deal. That to me tells me that they're going to make so much money still. And I know I went off a little bit of a tangent here. We're going to get right back to Hi-Fi Rush, but answering the question here to Adidas20, that pretty much guarantees that there's not going to be any doubt that that the next Call of Duty is in Game Pass, because they're going to be making money through microtransactions on that game, and they're going to be making up any loss that they could possibly get from putting it into Game Pass, which I don't think it's a loss, because people will be more inclined to spend money, Adidas20, on microtransactions, because they didn't buy the game for $76.43. I think so. It's going to move people over to the service. So I hope that answers your question. Bionic Wolf, who's been a channel member for 7 months. Bionic Wolf, thank you so much for the support. He says, what's the mystery Xbox hardware releasing this year? I really want to say it's a handheld. I want to say it's an Xbox handheld. I don't know, but we did get some information out of Korea where there is a dev kit. We're going to get into that as well. I don't know what it could be. I know that Xbox for Koreans, I believe that is the Twitter handle, said that, and again, folks, I don't know because I don't live in Korea, but I know that what they said on Twitter is that for upgraded hardware, you do not have to re-register it. So we're going to break that down here, because obviously that news came out this morning. But Steel Rain, let's get back into Hi-Fi Rush. Apparently, all of a sudden now, for some PlayStation reviewers, this game is not only the greatest thing since sliced bread, it's scoring higher than the Xbox version. And there was one site that did say, well, the DualSense makes it that much better. And if that's the case, I'm not going to fight with you. But is there an actual tax, especially when we're seeing it, for it now that it's currently a 4-point difference? It might go higher, it might go lower. We don't know. We got to wait for all of the reviews to come in. But right now, it's a 91 on PlayStation and an 87 on on Xbox. And the reason why, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily be able to tell you outside of what I believe is the gamer bias, the brand bias, the identity bias, whatever you want to call it, or just straight up the Xbox tax, as we've been calling it. If you needed evidence for it to be true, and I think this is the thing that we've been joking about for some time, where we're like, we're gonna send those games over there, then all of a sudden there's gonna be better games. And that's exactly what we're seeing with the game like Hi-Fi Rush. Now, Sea of Thieves is definitely going to be a different conversation, because there's been so much content and the game's completely changed. So I'm definitely interested to see how that is changed, so we can get a proper, so we can get its just dues, because it's still like a low 60 on Metacritic. So if it gets like a good 90 or something like that, maybe even a high 80, it'll bring that score up. And hopefully more people end up jumping in there. But to get back on Hi-Fi Rush is one of those games that people were downplaying because of the musical nature to it, because of, oh, well, the combat, I got to be on beat, and that's kind of hard to play. And oh man, if I had even during the time, people were saying that, oh well, if I had my DualSense controller, I could feel the rumbles in my controller or the haptics, and I can know exactly what I need to press, and it just would enhance my experience. And look, I'm not going to pretend like I'm not somebody that's also affected by whatever input device that I decide to use, right? I'm very biased when it comes to controller. The Elite controller is definitely my best. Now I got the Veda Pro 3 that I've been using by FlyDigi, which I definitely would recommend for at least PC users. But nonetheless, I'm always going to be partial to the Xbox design in their controller because it's the most comfortable for me. And it is fair to say that, hey, well, I enjoy this game a little bit more because I'm playing with my preferred controller. Okay, cool. My problem is the amount of downplaying that was done more so, or to Fuzzy's point, or excuse me, what we kind of joked about behind the scenes is, how do you forget that you played a game, for an example, or to add on to that, how do you say that, oh, I played it, but I didn't like the music, so I refunded it, although it's in Game Pass? So if you were unsure, you heard the music before you even started playing the game. It was in the trailer. It was in the preview. I mean, if you didn't know it right then, so okay, this is my issue, and this is my issue that I've been finding through the community. It's not just people who review games and whatnot. It's just people blatantly lying just to lie. It didn't fit my narrative, and now the narrative's changed, so I need to fit in now because it's good for me now. It's for me, that makes me look at people sideways. And again, I'm not God. I'm not here to judge everybody for however they do things, but as a person, as an individual, if you're willing to do these things in gaming, we're online, we're on the internet, I have to assume that you would do those things in other parts of your real life. I don't nobody can tell me different. Whatever you're willing to do online is things that you're willing to do in real life, point blank, period. I've been in too many examples of that being the truth. So if that's the case, that particular person, I just feel like it's disingenuous. I do feel like some of the other people have been also extremely disingenuous, but I think this is a scary place, right? Because we've been talking about, I mean, not for me per se, because I'm on the opposite side of the fence a bit, but because we have been talking about games going to other platforms and how that could affect Xbox in the long run. And to me, I think this is playing more so into what I was saying about you putting games on other platforms. Maybe the game didn't get as much attention as it should have on Xbox. And you putting this game on a different platform and it getting further recognition, because again, gaming is different today than it was back then. And there are certain titles that do deserve that reach where they couldn't probably have gotten that before. And the fact that PlayStation has allowed this, again, keep in mind, you have to pay full price for Hi-Fi Rush. $29.99 isn't bad though. So keep it in mind, I mean, it's a good price game. I was playing this game in Game Pass. I don't regret my purchase decision all of a sudden. I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel hurt the fact that Xbox sent it over there and more people are getting to experience. More people are actually seeing the unique nature of the game and what it's bringing to the action genre, at least, especially with it being. Because I always also try to be careful about treading those waters of, oh, it's a rhythm-based game. It's
you
rhythm
can shut
based,
all of that off, dude.
also it's not, right? You don't have to. It becomes more of a I was getting this conversation with Pong. It becomes more of a, if you're not hitting the beat, it could be frustrating because that doing that enhances your combat experience. So again, you just have to find what you're looking for in it. But overall, it's funny to me to see the continued effort to kind of push against the grain, to make sure that people know that, hey, games over on this device are probably a little bit better. Oh, well, the time they put more optimization into it, so it's much better than it was when you guys played it. You guys are the beta testers, and now we're having that beta kind of conversation back and forth, being funny with each other. But overall, it's super dope that Hi-Fi Rush is able to go to a different platform and get some recognition. We'll see how much recognition it ends up getting. I think that's the other thing that Xbox is mainly looking at. Hey, it might be rated high by 9 people or higher, but who's actually going to end up buying this game? And how many people buy this game? And I think this will help us will at least help us get some understanding of what Xbox's true goals are. Because if it doesn't sell well on PlayStation, then it would answer our question of, because we joke about that, about people buying games as well. That might be an answer for them. And they say, you know what, it's not even worth us putting in the extra work or the will or the want. Maybe PlayStation's not even playing nice still, with us again, you're giving games to a platform that doesn't have any first party games to speak for itself. So now I'm giving my first party games to you, but I'm supposed to feel bad about my ecosystem. Who's really at fault here?
Phenomenal, dude.
Because last year,
I think that's a great point. I don't think I've ever
boom,
put that together. That's a phenomenal point.
Boom. Last year, I mean, what game released first party wise on PlayStation?
Well, MLB The Show, as it normally does, but that was also a multi-plat. But if you're talking about like full-on exclusives, it was just one.
Spider-Man.
That's it. Spider-Man 2. Yeah.
So now going into this year, we're giving you games, and that's still a problem. And they end up being good games. And it's just it's funny to see the way things are playing out. That's why I just love being a gamer. I love standing on what I believe in. And again, I will continue to tell people, know who you are, not only as a person, but as a gamer as well. Because it is extremely important to know what you like, what you're into, and then kind of move around with that. Just don't be out here playing make believe, or as I like to say, playing house.
Playing house. I love it. Look, folks, I don't think that we're really treading on a razor's edge of being either facetious or straight up lying. I think that the facts are here. So to Steele's point, see, and I stay on the square. I know I'm the odd man out because I'm the old guy in the room, right? My whole point of Hi-Fi Rush staying as an Xbox exclusive was because of how special the game is.
Which is fair.
But I also don't run a mega corporation, and I know that it's about business, not about feelings. Show business, not show friends, right? That everyone says that all the time. Now this game obviously is going to eventually go to the Switch. I think it's probably going to end up being a Switch 2 launch title along with CFDs, which would be dope. Sure. It's going to get more people to play the game. The game is definitely worth more people playing. And my whole point of wanting to keep it in-house is because I think that Xbox currently, when you look at new IP, right, they're hitting now. Starfield, new IP hit, right? This comes out, it's a hit. It's critically acclaimed. It's not given its flowers the way it should have been, simply because it was an Xbox exclusive. If this would have been a PlayStation exclusive, a couple things would have happened last year during the Keyleagues. It would have been in the Game of the Year conversation. There's no doubt in my mind, right? That would have been one of the 6, no doubt. If this was a PlayStation exclusive, this gets in. It may even get in over Spider-Man, to be honest with you. That's how special this game is. I guarantee you that this would have been a 90 meta or higher if it would have been on PlayStation first or only. That's a fact. But you know what's interesting? So I like bringing up bringing up stats, because we can argue opinions, we can have difference of opinions, and we can all walk away and be friends, right? No one has to fling poo at each other because you're not buying what I'm selling. It's perfectly okay. But what's interesting is the points. Now, when Hi-Fi Rush dropped down to an 87 on Xbox because it was an Xbox exclusive, not because the game wasn't good. It went from universal acclaim and getting that Metacritic stamp to generally favorable. Now, currently, the PlayStation version is universally acclaimed, and it has that stamp that this is a must-play. It's a must-play from Metacritic. Now, I don't know what the score is on OpenCritic because I haven't gone to look. We're just talking about what we have in front of us now. It's interesting though, and I think Fuzzy and Steel Rain really put their focus and their finite opinions on, yes, this is if you needed, if anyone actually needed an example that is proven that that 5-point bump upwards or downwards is for Xbox versus PlayStation, this is it. Now, what's going to happen with Sea of Thieves in a couple of weeks when it releases? I honestly don't know. And like I said, I'm being fair when, Sea of Thieves, where it is and where it was, are two different games.
Right.
Two totally different games. Where it is now is why it has nearly, I think it's like 38 million plus players without counting who's going to jump in on PlayStation. And obviously, last week we talked about this, Fuzzy. There's a reason why people on PlayStation have this in Europe as in 3 of the top 10 most pre-ordered games last week. And in America, it was 2 spots out of the PlayStation top 10 for Sea of Thieves that they have to buy because people are starving for multiplayer games. And like Steele said, Sea of Thieves is different. It's unusual. Now, Skull and Bones is going to come and go. And when that dies off, and it's going to die quickly if it's not already dead, Sea of Thieves is still going to be here. And it's one of those, it's a unique, rare game that just goes and says, well, that's a rare game. It's unique. It's different. It's not the same as the others. And that's why it's so popular. And I think it's going to be super popular on PlayStation. I'm wondering, are the same reviewers that gave Sea of Thieves up into its current status a hard time going to be now, praising it, Fuzzy? Again, we're going to move on to 2, we have other topics to get to, but I want to get your hot take on, because the Sea of Thieves thing is again, it's not reviewed yet. It's not out yet.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on the fact that it's going to potentially review better?
Oh, it's definitely going to be somewhere in the 80s, maybe even in the 90s. They're going to ignore what they said in the past, because like the biggest thing was, it was the early days of games as a service. So, Rare had to kind of figure out where they were going as far as the content loop was concerned. Now they got that figured out 10 times over. They have all these expansions, DLC. They have pretty much, I wouldn't say a single player mode, but like a PvE mode right now. So some of the people that complain, it's too much PvP. I suck at this game, so I don't know. Well, reviewers, they sometimes have problems even with Cuphead in the tutorial. So it's going to get a much more favorable review because it is not just a unique game, but it is a fun game with friends. It is a fun game solo, especially if you can kind of figure out how to take down a ship or a whole crew. There's just so much depth to that game that now I kind of wonder if Sony might be in the back of their minds regretting allowing Xbox into the house for the fact that they're having a hard time, other than like Helldivers 2, which let's be fair, PC is pretty much carrying that thing, but they're having a hard time getting their foot in the door when it comes to games as a service. And this is a prime example of one that, even the Game Awards ignored for all these years as far as the best ongoing game, where it was constantly getting content. And some of the people, or some of the games that they were putting in that category, weren't really even doing half of that. So yeah, I think it will be, I would say, somewhere around 87 or better. I'd be surprised if it's anything less than that. But I think people are truly going to get a kick out of this. This is going to be another game where people are going to try to platinum it and be, Pirate Legends. And, I know that there's some that, already did that on PC or Xbox and are going to do it again.
Mr. Badbit, one
Yeah.
of the best PlayStation representatives that I personally know. He has a channel, folks. If you don't know, it's called The Trophy Room. If you are someone that enjoys PlayStation like me and you want a really, really fun, interesting way of talking about PlayStation without slander, go check out The Trophy Room with Joe. Joe's a Pirate Legend currently on Sea of Thieves on Xbox. He's also, P.S. by the way, one of the most ridiculously good Halo players I've ever played with and against. He already said that he is going to platinum this game, and not only that, become a pirate legend. So yeah. people are excited, and as they should be, because Sea of Thieves, again, you know me, folks, I'm not capping. It's just not a game for me, especially because I got jumped, robbed, and I lost 3 hours of my life, and I'm like, you know what, f that. Now I am going to go back and play it with the safer seas things. I really want to play and get to enjoy the game from a single player point of view. Maybe, hook up with a couple of people in the community and just have some fun. The game is gorgeous. It's different, and it deserves more people to play it. You know who I'm excited for? I'm not excited for PlayStation players to play it. If more players that get into it, great. I'm happy for Rare and their developers, who potentially could have easily given up on this game, and they didn't.
Yeah. I see this thing reaching 45 million players rather quickly.
Yes. Yep.
It's within the cards, especially considering how well it's being pre-ordered. And once the word of mouth starts getting around, I think the FOMO will start kicking in, and even more people will probably pick this up as well. So we might even see more streamers come back to it as well. So yeah, it's definitely going to get some more momentum, and hopefully they can put all of that in feedback and extra cash that they get from the blue team into Everwild, because that's where I want it to go.
Great stuff as always, Fuzzy. I do have a serious question for Steel Rain. Okay. Now, during the Game Awards, there is a category of best ongoing game. And Sea of Thieves and like Halo Infinite are prime examples. Now, I say Halo Infinite because I'm addicted to Halo Infinite, which PS, by the way, and I have to say this because I'm proud of this old man moment. I had a game, I went 8-16. I was like, you know what? It's time to maybe pack it in because the skills aren't so much there. And I said, you know what? Before the show, let me get one more game in. And I rolled 12 dudes in a row, before anyone killed me in a game, and I had it recorded, which I'm going to put that together to play for everyone to see. I was murdering people like Jason Voorhees. It was crazy, and it wasn't bots; it was human beings. So yes, I still got skills. I say all of that to say, Steel, when Sea of Thieves was announced by Rare for PlayStation, it's a big deal for Rare and their developers, and I'm super excited for them because they're excited, right? Who can't get excited for a team that could have easily given up on a game? But Rare actually responded to Jeff Keighley because he actually tweeted that Sea of Thieves is coming to, of course, PlayStation, which is, again, awesome for PlayStation players who don't have Xbox, who only support one platform. That's awesome, right? And they actually said to him, wow, Jeff, this is only the second time that since Sea of Thieves has been out that you've mentioned the game, right? Only the second time. So my question is, and again, this is, is it the tax? It's going to be interesting to see. During the Game Awards 2024, which are coming up in December, is Sea of Thieves going to get into that category for best ongoing game because it's on PlayStation?
It would be extremely ironic if all of a sudden now it does. I mean, that's definitely going to be a very telling time. I mean, it already should be part of that conversation. Along with Halo and all the other live service games that should be part of that question, instead of the same ones that they kind of put up there. But yeah, I mean, just to answer your question plainly, Boom, I mean, it's I will literally laugh my butt off if that's exactly what happens. That all of a sudden now, because it's on a separate platform, although it was available on PC and Xbox, that now it's a good ongoing game, although they've continued to say that it's an ongoing game, because even Elder Scrolls Online, which I do believe is everywhere, has that ever been in the question?
Not as far as I remember. Anyone can,
and that's an online game too. It's an MMO.
Yeah.
So there's multiple games on that side where it's like, so what is a ongoing game?
Well, according to
because
them, it's Elden Ring because of the DLC.
yeah, and that was no, no, that's a DLC for a game for no, yeah, that's weird. But yeah,
What, not
it's
Cyberpunk?
strange. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
look,
exactly. Cyberpunk.
I'll be honest
Yeah.
with you. Here's why I hope that happens. Not so we can make fun. Not so we you know we could fling poo for a conversation. No,
Mhm.
if that happens, if this game gets into the best ongoing category, as it should, because it has had numerous updates and it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal game. It will bring more people to play it. And of course, the more people that play it, there's likely we're going to get a sequel. There's
Right.
likely we're going to get additional DLC to continue growing the franchise. I mean, obviously we saw the thing with Pirates of the Caribbean. That I did play that solo. That was pretty dope. But there are a lot of other, really cool IPs they can mix with. Peter Pan being one of them. Captain, obviously it has Captain Hook. That would be pretty dope. I said this a couple of weeks ago. Again, folks, I'm the old man here. If I don't anybody remember back in the days, the old Sinbad films from like the 60s and 70s. I'd like to see
Mhm.
that because obviously that's pretty good lore. There's a lot you can do with Sea of Thieves past what they've done. Obviously, they had Monkey Island, their recent one, which my brother loved because he's a big Monkey Island fan. But it's going to be very interesting, ladies and gentlemen, to see what current Xbox games that are now on PlayStation, how they are reviewed, how are they received by the media. I think you're going to see a real there's going to be that telltale sign that if it's on Xbox, it's not good. If it's on PlayStation, it's better. I really think you are going to see that. I mean, that's currently happening now. And it's disappointing that the game can't be group reviewed for the game. It has to be reviewed based on what box you're playing on. I think that's ridiculous, especially when you consider the Xbox is more powerful than the PS5 currently. But listen, we have over 1,000 people here. Holy shit, that is freaking crazy. Remember,
Hey,
that's awesome.
beautiful
So over
people.
1K in the chat. Thank you so much for checking it out. Super appreciate it. Look, I have to say this because when I don't, I get scolded by Randall Thor 19. He's one of my favorite podcasters, him and Jez Corden on the Xbox 2 podcast. And listen, for some reason, some rhyme, some situation that I'm unaware of, YouTube kind of sucks right now, and the channel is not being found by anybody because we are not gaining any subs. In fact, we've lost more subs in the last 28 days than we've gained. And it's not because I'm a dick. I do this 5 days a week, 20 shows a month, and if the month extends, sometimes more than that. And listen, we may not have the same opinion on PlayStation or Xbox or Switch, but we don't use hate mongering on this channel. We do not get you in with the banana in the tailpipe with clickbait. The show is the show. We have a lot of fun. We laugh. Everyone is welcomed. I actually go out of my way to welcome in everyone, even when they have something slanderous to say. And you know what? Have your opinions. I'm not going to hate you for it, unless you get racy. I'm gonna have to ban you, especially if you start using foul language and you start being like a bully. We can't have that kind of shenanigans on the live stream. So I'm asking if you are finding the channel for the first time, like for instance, Everlast X in the chat. Everlast, welcome to the program, brother. If you're finding the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing. It would be pretty dope if you did. But with that said, again, welcome to the 1,000 plus people here. That is pretty dope, and I am thrilled and honestly humbled by how many people are here. Before we get to the next topic, as you know, Mrs. Boom and I are a small channel. We are at 14,000 subscribers. Hopefully, now on the way to 15. As soon as YouTube gets their shit together, we don't team up with a lot of products because a lot of the people that reach out to us, their products are shit, and I'm not going to try and sell shit products to you to make a couple of bucks because that's disgusting. My wife and I are the only ones that run this channel, and we work super, super hard to get this channel to where it is, and we're not selling out for money. We did team up, though, with one particular product, And the one particular product I want to talk about is the Volare gaming pillow. Now,
Ooh.
this is a product that when I first saw it, I'm not going to front. I was like, nah, I don't know so much about this one. And they said, listen, let us send you one. So I said, okay. Now I chose to accept the pillow because if you don't know about me, I am surgically repaired in my spinal cord, L5, L5, L4, L5, S1, and I'm fused together. And I'm like Wolverine except without the claws. If you look at the X-ray, and sometimes I find myself hunching over, and it bothers me to play games when I'm sitting. So I figured let me give this pillow a shot because maybe it will help me personally, and it does. And the gaming pillow that I use is the one that was gifted to me by King David himself, and it's the Iron Lord's branded pillow, and it is freaking dope, and it works. So I had a commercial commissioned by Sean Labrie, who is an absolutely astounding artist. And if you decide to check it out and you want to get this pillow, folks, you can save 15% off of your total order by typing in the code DBG15 at checkout. So here you go. Check out the commercial, folks. Here we go. And well, that's it, folks. There's the commercial. Again, if you want to check out the pillow, you can go into the show notes. The link for the Volare gaming pillow is there. All you got to do is click once. And of course, when you're there, if you decide to get one of the pillows, don't forget at checkout, use the code DBG 15 at checkout, and you will save 15% off of your entire order. Now, the next topic I want to talk about, folks, is one that has made news on pretty much every website, as it should. We did have Tom Henderson of Insider Gaming break the story of the PlayStation 5 Pro last Friday. He then did a second story on Saturday, giving us some more insight. And of course, once again on Monday morning, get a third story on it because more information about the actual device was, out there. Now, one of the things that he did say in a tweet just yesterday, there has been, the leak has sparked an internal investigation at Sony or SIE, Sony Interactive Entertainment, for the leak. Now, the leak apparently has come from a third party partner. They are investigating on how this leak got out and who leaked it, and whoever did, well, I would imagine they're going to be in a bit of a pickle. But I do want to get into the Xbox Series X versus the PlayStation 5 Pro because obviously one of the big numbers that everyone seemed to focus on, Fuzzy Belvedere, was the 33 teraflops that are going to be available for this console. And obviously, there was some claims that it's 45% better than the PlayStation 5 and that it's going to have 4K 60 ray tracing and it's going to have all these bells and whistles. Folks, it is not. And I'm going to tell you why. It is from many people that I have spoken to. It is currently, if those numbers stay the same, about 10% better than the Xbox Series X. And this is Sony. And let's be fair, Sony knows how to rake its consumer over the coal. It's what they do, Fuzzy Belvedere. This is going to be minimum a $600 machine. I am personally not upgrading. I have a PlayStation 5 with the Spider-Man's covers on it and the controller to match, and it works just fine. I am not spending $1 on this upgrade because I don't need it. Now, Fuzzy and Steel Rain are tech guys. I am not, which is why I'm super stoked to hear what they have to say, because not only are they Xbox and PlayStation and Switch gamers, they are also PCMR, PC Master Race gamers. And I know some people don't like that, but that's the terminology the kids use. So I'm going to use it. Fuzzy Belvedere, let's talk about the PlayStation Pro, PlayStation 5 Pro versus the Series X, based on, again, folks, the information that was provided us by Tom Warren of The Verge, and of course Tom Henderson, who broke the story of Insider Gaming.
Yeah. Well, I want to start off where some of the sources I had always questioned because of what those same sources said back during the PS5 days, where it was supposed to be RDNA 3 when
Yes.
AMD themselves hadn't even finalized RDNA 2. I'll admit I'm not as much of a tech guy as Steele is, but I've always kind of felt that this PS5 Pro was going to be more of like a Xbox One, even the Xbox One S versus the Xbox One X. Like it's more on the graphical side that it's going to help, which will help with resolution, where you'll probably see more games being native 4K as opposed to upscaled or checkerboarded or dynamic, as they say. But I from get go, because they're going to do that type of work to it, to get anything out of the devs to show that capability. I always thought from day one this would actually help the Series X and S more, because the actual tools of that chipset that the devs were pretty much ignoring in some cases, not all of them, because Ubisoft put some effort in some of their stuff. Capcom always seems to put effort into their stuff. Their engines are solid, so they always have better optimization for what's in the kit for Xbox. And there was a few other ones that seem to go that extra mile to kind of get a little more oomph or some of the features to work outside of their first party. But now that this new PS5 Pro has a little bit more graphical energy to it compared to the base PS5, some of those same things that will help it with the ray tracing, they'll help it with more stable frames or better resolution, is the same stuff that the dev should have used from get-go on the Series X and S. So I think, even though ultimately you'll probably see maybe a 2160 versus a 2150 range, or instead of the PS5 Pro having it where it's dynamic, it's solid 4K, versus maybe the Series X on heavy frames or heavy particle effects or something like that, it drops from like 2160 down to at most like maybe 1800-ish, give or take. But that's like worst case scenario, I think we'll see as far as differences are concerned. But when it comes to 30 frames versus 60 frames, because the CPUs are pretty much going to be around the same, it's like maybe a 10% increase, give or take, on the CPU front of things. And I think that's with the boost enabled. I think any game that was able to play 60 on the current PS5 or the current Series X will play 60 on the PS5 Pro. No problem. They'll probably play maybe even a little bit smoother in that regard. But when it comes to games that are struggling to maintain a solid 30, at most you're going to see that PS5 Pro maybe get a more stable 30, or maybe they'll be able to do some trickery where it's like a 40 or 45 to kind of give that smoothness if you're in like the 120 hertz mode on your TV, with some games like they did with Ratchet and Clank, and I think they did that with Spider-Man before some of the remaster, that is, before some of the patches later on. But I always felt that this is going to be more of a, it's more incremental versus the Series X as opposed to the base PS5. Some of the stuff that we're seeing is more future proofing to some extent. Like their hopes that some of these things that they're working on in the chipset will eventually carry over maybe to the PS6, that will allow or make things a lot easier. Like we already saw 8K on the box for the PS5, the base PS5. It's, I won't say it's marketing speak, because you can hook it to an 8K TV. Will it look that great in comparison to your 4K TV? Probably not that much of an improvement, more so than the TV itself kind of making some of the improvements as far as the refresh rate on the screen. And as long as you're not standing extremely close to it, you probably won't notice quite the difference. But this whole notion that this PS5 Pro is going to magically do Grand Theft Auto 6 at 60 frames, I think is a pipe dream. Like, if you look at like how CPU heavy, GTA 5 is out there, I mean, yes, they got the new release that's for these gen consoles to, I think it's running 60 at this point, but we're talking about an engine that's like 13 years old that now for 6 has got, a few more upgrades and stuff
Yeah.
in the, behind the scenes that's upgraded, that make it a lot more of a living, open world type of deal. Those
Mhm.
things are going to then, kind of bottleneck these current CPUs to some extent as far as what's in the current gen consoles. And I think even some of the, like, your average PC will probably be struggling if they want to have it on like ultra settings, getting GTA 6 to run at 60 when, it comes out a year later on PC or whatever. But, it, the best way to put it, I would say, if you're in the market for like, or if you enjoyed your Xbox One X versus your base Xbox One, unless you came straight into the Xbox One X, expect a similar kind of visual bump. Don't expect frames, expect maybe more particle effects, maybe a little bit more detail in the reflections as far as when it comes to ray tracing. The biggest thing I've noticed is when you look at some of those reflections, they look a little bit more pixelated or a little more jaggy. Maybe this will allow them to be a little bit smoother, but it's just more so to make things look prettier. It's less to do with the frames themselves, I think, or at least what I'm getting from the specs that we're seeing as far as the raw specs, not the the AI boost stuff that will help. Which I think in the long term, the AI stuff will be more of like consoles having their version of a DLSS built in. That might be a slight improvement on FSR right now at the moment, but we'll see how much the devs invest in timing. Now, from first party, they'll probably get most of the stuff that they can out of the box. But if you look back at PlayStation right now, they don't have much of a roadmap. So getting stuff out of the current PS5, even though, yeah, I admit Ratchet and Clank looks great. Spider-Man, the remaster,
Yeah,
Miles
yeah.
Morales, and 2 look great. I mean, 2 had some shortcuts on some things in comparison because of it being a larger open world, but overall, I think their first party will probably be the ones that get the most use out of the PS5 Pro.
Mhm.
Companies like Rockstar will definitely, put in a little bit more effort, but they always want their game to look the best, whether it's on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever. They want this game to make you recognize or realize that this is the game you must be playing. But I don't think it's going to be the revolutionary 4K 60 that we were I wouldn't say promised, but we were hoping for this generation. I don't think this is the solution at this point, but we'll see.
I mean, listen, obviously, first party games should look better and run better. How much better? Well, 10% better than what they're running now. Now, I want to be fair. Sony's first party games, they look phenomenal. They look great on the PlayStation 4. They look just as good, potentially better on the PlayStation 5. I would imagine that there's going to be some areas where their older games are going to shine. Is it going to be because this thing that they were working on it and they're taking advantage of it, or will there be something where there's going to be an automatic bump? I don't know. What I find interesting is that based on the information that came out of their fiscal report, they do not have a first party game lined up outside of MLB until a minimum of March of 2025. So this console, if we do get it this year, and it does come out like it's rumored to come out in the holiday, there's not going to be a game that's going to take advantage of it. Now they do have some third party stuff. Obviously, Rise of the Ronin is releasing in 2 days. That's already starting to get some mixed reviews. Famitsu gave it a really good review in Japan. If you're not familiar with
Mhm.
who Famitsu Wave, they are the oldest video game magazine publication in Japan. They've been there since the freaking 80s. They gave Rise of the Ronin of, I think it was all nines, if I'm not mistaken. And they don't give those out easily. They really don't. So they must have really liked it. We obviously they do have a few games that they are third party exclusives. I don't know if a newer console, a Pro is going to take advantage still. But what's interesting is that this all comes from a rumor. This all comes from a leak. Me personally, from a layman's terms, folks, this is my opinion. The numbers seemed from the numbers, at least for me, seemed like they got those numbers from a dev kit. Now, I did speak with Asante, who, of course, is in fact a tech guy, and he said that those numbers actually came from a what did he say it was? A public portal, which means that those could in fact be the final numbers. And again, it's all speculation because Sony themselves haven't announced it. Let's get your hot take on the PlayStation 5 Pro versus the Series X. I mean, was it worth upgrading?
Oh man, is it worth upgrading? No, it's going to be dependent on who you ask. Was it worth the people to get the Xbox One X or the PlayStation 4 Pro? And if the answer to that was yes, then you have a reason to possibly jump in and enjoy it. I also had a Xbox One X. I also had the Xbox One, I had the VCR, and then I had the One S, and then I got an One X. And I had that for some time, and I felt like that was a decent and solid improvement over what I had previously. Now, we're also talking about a different generation where things weren't as on par as they kind of have been with the series generation, where I think that there's still a lot of headroom to be had, right? The thing about the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 generation, both devices were behind the curve as far as technology goes, right? This time around, the series and the PlayStation consoles, well, more so the series because they actually waited, are at least a year or ahead of the curve. And again, when you try to compare it to PC, they're just, you get into the minutia of things, and the thing that makes consoles special is the innovation that goes into them. I don't want my console to all of a sudden to become a PC, as much as I would love for it to give me access to the ecosystem, at least, so I can have access to an abundance of games. Because again, I feel like that's the point. But get that back to the PlayStation 5 Pro. The PlayStation 5 Pro is going to be exactly what the One X was for the One S. Point blank, period. If that is worth it to you at $600-700, then great. But it is not going to be a 8K 60 frame monster. It's just not. Arkham Knight on my PC at 1080p, just as an example. Matter of fact, I think Witcher would be even a better example because it's a grander game, open world, has good graphics and stuff like that. Witcher at 1080p at max settings on my PC. I have a 3080 Ti. I have a 12-core, 24-thread processor. It struggles to run at max settings at 1080p. If a PC is struggling to do this at 1080p, at 60 frames, then what do you think is going to happen for these other devices? Or do you think it is truly possible that we're going to get 4K all of a sudden when we're supposed to get 4K this generation, 4K 60, by the way? Yep. And the highest that we've been seemingly getting consistently is right around 1800p, which we're still almost 500 pixels away from hitting 4K. And I don't think we're going to get close to that, at least anytime soon. Because of the way that games are being made currently. What I do think the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to do is allow the Xbox some breathing room. And it's going to resolve the issues that we were kind of walking into this generation with when you started seeing the PlayStation outperform the Xbox in certain games, where you're going to see that, oh, maybe the delta isn't that big of a difference. Oh, man, yeah, the PlayStation is a higher resolution in some games, but they're the exact same frame rate. Oh, okay. Again, is PlayStation going to end up getting some W's out of this? For sure.
Oh yeah.
The size of the W's?
So. Yeah.
The size of the W's, who knows? Do the W's even matter at that point? If you're looking at the hardware side of things, I don't know, because I would imagine that their overall goal more so for the Pro is so they can get the PlayStation 5 further down, like they did with the PlayStation 4 with the Spider-Man edition. If you are able to get your PlayStation 5 down to a price that's almost like I might as well just buy one like they did with that. I think that the hardware was like $199 with Spider-Man at the time.
$199 with Spider-Man 2018. That they won Black Friday. In fact, I still
Bro,
think that they made numbers that the company has never seen before when they did that.
So even if you do like that, and again, I don't think it's going to be that steep. I mean, but even if you did $299 with the next Spider-Man game or Wolverine as an example, had a Wolverine console, that would put you in a good place. You say, hey, we got this Pro if you want to play this, or we got this Wolverine bundle, $299. It's the same price as the Series S or close. And then boom, now you're having that competition conversation again. I think that that's what the overall goal of the PlayStation 5 Pro is more than anything, is to get people into the PlayStation 5 maybe a little earlier, because you still have people who are on PlayStation 4 and we still have people that are playing on Xbox One. How do you move those people forward? Well, the only real way is to continue to try to figure out ways to bring that price down. Games are getting expensive. People already wait on games and whatnot. But yeah, the PlayStation 5 Pro, I think inherently is going to give Xbox more advantages than anything, just because of the tool side of things alone. Now, the market leader has some of the capability, and it's still not everything that the Xbox has, architecturally, apparently. But now the PlayStation, the market leader, has the things that we've been asking for from Xbox outside of Velocity or Kraken or anything like that, because there's more storage tools and whatnot, to get games that are actually going to use the hardware that's in the box. Maybe not having to wait that 8 to 10 years like we have in the past for games to finally reach their potential. Again, Last of Us came out in the end of the PlayStation 3 generation. Gears of War, I believe it was 3. Either way, there's a lot of games. I don't want to just use those as specifics, but there's a lot of games that we end up getting later on in the generation. Horizon could be one of those for the PlayStation 4 if you want to throw that in there. Even God of War. You're gonna start getting games much sooner than later that are performing at the standard that we're looking for. And I think that's more influential than anything else that we're going to see moving forward. Things are changing. This isn't like things were back in the day, because things have inherently become more PC, quote unquote, like. There's not going to be those vast differences unless somebody decides to start making games completely different than they are right now. And if money is a problem, you're not going to do that. So needless to say, I don't think the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to do anything substantially different or leagues and bounds beyond what Xbox is possible can do. But what it will do is destroy another narrative for Phil. And it may make some people upset that, again, this comes across like Phil lied. Phil said that we're not going to lose another hardware generation as far as performance goes or power goes and whatnot. And that's going to fall to the wayside if this ends up becoming true. Because again, from what we've heard, they're not chasing that direction. And again, there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period, but if you can come out 2 years later after the Pro and with your next console, PlayStation is going to be at least 2 years behind, because they still got to support this. And even if Xbox releases a new console, it's not going to be so far beyond what we have right now, to the point to where, it's like how we look at the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 generation. Those games still being made for those consoles are holding us back right now, because there's a different spec of hardware. But the other thing about the PlayStation 5 Pro that I think is also great is that we're going to start seeing more games on PC as well, kind of start upping the baseline, because the console baseline has been raised up. And I think because games are in multiple ecosystems now, multiple platforms, you can play them here or there, they are looking at that and taking that into consideration. There's a reason why Totoki comes out and tells you, hey, we need to bring our games to PC. Hey, we need to figure out a way to kind of streamline some of this thing. Hey, you guys I walked through all the studios. You guys are super creative, but you have no understanding of business. And that's what they're working on. This is not what I made up. This is from Totoki himself.
Yep.
So if the CFO saying these things isn't enough for you to tell you the direction that they're trying to move into, the audience that they're trying to cater to, that they're trying to gather, or whatever the case, I don't know what else needs to be presented, but I do think that we as gamers in totality on both platforms are going to get a lot of positives because of this. So,
well, I mean, it's interesting. Like I said, this is apparently releasing this year, according to the rumors, according to the
we'll
you know,
see.
the leaked
Yeah.
report. When that happens, price is going to be the big question. Currently, you can find Spider-Man 2 bundle for about, I think it's 500. I think it is right now, $499. Does the release of the Pro drop the PS5?
I
See,
think it
I
should.
don't. Well, ultimately, it should. The issue that I see here, Steel,
Mhm.
is PlayStation. I think it was maybe 3 or 4 Mondays ago, took a $10 billion hit on their stock price
Yeah.
because they did not meet the expectations or the numbers that they had originally forecasted for the for the sales of the PlayStation 5. Um, I don't know what the profitability is on an Xbox when they sell it versus at PlayStation 5. I know the Switch is making money every time that they sell a
Oh yeah.
console. They're making hand over fist money with that because obviously the hardware is super old. The PlayStation 5 currently, I don't know what the price. I think the last
I
time it
think
was
they
reported it was like $50.
I think, yeah, I was going to say, I think they are making a profit over there, which is also another thing that's different, which is probably why they even considered doing a Pro outside of probably the CPU issues that they were facing. Because I think the biggest reason behind this Pro, outside of some of the graphical improvements and whatnot, is to get a more stable CPU, if anything, to kind of eliminate the faults that they were having with the previous one, overclocking it the way that they were.
Yes.
This one is also going to be overclocked as well, but because you've had time, and probably were able to R&D a little bit more, you're probably able to get a much more sustainable processor than you were able to before, at least a higher success rate, much more so. So that could be another reason. But they're profitable as far as Sony. And I think that was like within 6 months they were profitable off the PlayStation 5, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Which is, again, that's extremely unique. So it makes sense to me if they do that. Saw somebody in chat saying for the Spider-Man bundle, they're right around 400 apparently.
Oh,
So
okay.
again, I mean, 400, 500, whatever it is right now, if you're going to release a Pro, it just depends on how aggressive they want to be. If they want to go to Apple route, you release it at $599, drop the base console down to $399, and kind of move it from there. Those who want to invest, they'll invest. If you want to be really aggressive, and maybe take a little bit of that hit because you think that Wolverine might sell you some copies, or some other games they're going to release from first party are going to sell you some copies. Maybe you drop it down to $299 for a Spider-Man bundle or a Wolverine bundle or whatever bundle that you want to kind of put out there, and have your have your Pro at $599 now. Or $499, however they want to price that.
Yeah, I got the prices in front of me. I got a couple of stores. PC Richard has it for $449. GameStop has it for $449. So does Best Buy. Target has it for $399. Sam's Club has it for $449, and so does Walmart.
So right at 400.
Right
at 400. We'll call it even 400.
Yeah. Okay. So it's between 400 and 449. And like I said, I mean, listen, Spider-Man 2, a great pack-in, honestly. And that's honestly what you're paying the extra $50 for. If you're buying the console by itself, you're probably paying 400 for it. But that's, I mean, listen, that's here nor there. Are they making a profit? They did shrink a lot of the parts that they put in there. So I would imagine, I don't know if it's more than 50.
Took out a lot.
Yeah, they did take out a ton. Yeah, they did. But look, at the end of the day, the Pro is going to be an expensive upgrade. If you don't have a PlayStation, then maybe you buy one, and because obviously it's going to be better. If they offer a deal at, like, say for instance GameStop that gives you 300 or maybe even 400 to upgrade to the Pro, and you're only paying like $200 or $300 more, that's not bad to upgrade your console and to get a new one, right? Like hot off the presses. That's going to be interesting to see. I know that Tom Henderson did have a follow-up comment, gentlemen, regarding not releasing a game that could take advantage of the new hardware. Now, granted, some of their older games, yes, I would imagine there is going to be a bump. How much, we don't know. We have to wait for the console. But the same energy that was given to Xbox One X when it was released with no
No games.
game,
Mhm.
kind of wonder if that same
Needs to
energy
be the
is going
same.
to be handed over to PlayStation 5 Pro releasing without a game. And I only make mention of it because Tom Henderson, who broke this story, actually said in a tweet that he finds that a little sketchy. That they're going to release this during the holiday with no game to show off
Boom.
the hardware.
It can't be that sketchy. They're going to do a God of War remastered day one.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. You are correct in saying so. Listen, look, we have another topic to get to. I do want to say a big thank you, folks. We have broken records on this show. 1,300 people in the chat.
People.
That is just crazy. Like, honestly, to have that many. I mean, that's like Randall Thor, Colt Eastwood type of numbers. We are humbled beyond words, ladies and gentlemen. This is a small
Appreciate y'all.
podcast.
Hit that like.
Yes, please, for the love of Joe, hit the like button. I'd love to see 1K likes. It's unlikely. We average around 500 and change, which isn't bad, right? Normally we have 600, 700, 800, sometimes 800 people in the chat. So when you get 500 likes, you're obviously doing it right. But if you are new, folks, or you're finding the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing, as I do this 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, all different panels, all different shows.
Yes.
But we do not hate monger or sell you clickbait to get you in to check out. We have fun. We laugh. Even when we're insulted, like some people said some pretty scandalous things, you just laugh it off, right? It's opinions, folks. It doesn't hurt you. My pop said a lot of things to me when I was a kid, outside of treat others how you want to be treated. He said, Craig, never be afraid of laughter. When they laugh at you, laugh with them. So there's that. I do want to get into the next topic. And this one actually is a story that's kind of breaking regarding the newly rated hardware in Korea. We're going to talk about hardware for the end of the year because obviously Sarah Bond said they were going to have some hardware information. Is it the handheld that we've all been asking for? Because I have a ROG Ally. I'm not going to front, folks. I don't use it. It's a shame. It's literally sitting in the case. I turn it on every now and again. I play something like Vampire Survivor, something like that. I don't go out of my way to spend a lot of time on it because I'm home. I'm retired, so I play on TV. Right? It's fine. But I'm going to be honest with you. It's very heavy PC based, and I'm not a PC guy. I bought it. I actually had a Steam Deck, and I wound up selling it privately. I'm like, yeah, it's just too much for me. And the ROG Ally, I get it. I mean, I have stuff loaded on it. I got Resident Evil 2, looks amazing on there, and I've played it, and I have quite a few games on there. It's an incredible device. It's very PC. It's too PC for me. I want a Switch-like experience for my handheld from Xbox. I want to turn it on. I want to see the Xbox logo pop on and just get right in there. There's your dashboard. Pick a game, play. You're good. That's all I want out of it. I don't want any back end stuff. I don't want to talk about drivers or anything with the sound. I don't want to worry about any of that shenanigans. But let me just catch up on super chats, and we're going to get into that next topic, folks. Jonas the dad. Jonas, welcome back, brother. He drops a very generous $2 super chat, and he says Xbox tax in full effect. Not even hiding it. Yeah, I mean, it's there. If people don't want to believe it, that's fine. I'm not going to fight you on it, but it's there. At least I see it. And I'm not wearing my tinfoil hat over my mohawk today. Jax82 drops a very generous $5 super chat. And he says, shout out to John Jonas Tango for creating a game like Hi-Fi Rush, something Tango that's never done. They took a chance on something new, and it's a success. Yeah, I mean, that team Tango is very underrated. Look, I'll tell you this: if you have not played Ghostwire Tokyo, that is a game that could have been my game of the year. I absolutely loved it, and they're doing a sequel because they confirmed it. I'm looking forward to that. That's a game that's in Game Pass. That was from Tango Gameworks. You should check it out, especially if you are a J horror type of fan. even though it's not a horror game, it has elements of J horror in it. It's phenomenal. Let's see. Oh, K Asante, welcome back, brother. He actually has been a channel member for 22 months. Dude, that's crazy generous of you. Thank you, Kay. He says, salute to the killer panel, technologists in the building. 100% agree with the takes. Brother, thank you so much for that. Super appreciate it. Fuzzy, I'm gonna write to you, man. Let's get into, of course, a story, and I have it in front of me here. Let me just hold on a second. Let me bring this up for myself. Okay, so VGC reported this yesterday. A new Xbox development kit has reportedly been certified in Korea. Now, the reason why I just want to go back for a second, because this is a mystery, folks. We don't know what this hardware is. I have no idea what it could potentially be, but oh well, okay, so it's no longer there. So Xbox News for Koreans originally reported on their official Twitter account. It said, many are wondering if the new XDK that was certified yesterday in Korea is just the Xbox Series X that's refreshed with a new upgrade, a few upgraded parts, and all digital. I do not think so. Now, the tweet has been deleted, so I don't know what the deal is with the tweet being deleted, but I do want to bring up the story from VGC. This was written by Tom Ivan. It was posted yesterday on the 18th of March at 7:41 p.m. ET, I believe. And it says a new Xbox dev kit has reportedly been certified in South Korea. Microsoft recently said Xbox Series XS won't be its last console. Now, we obviously know that. Now, they do cite Xbox News for Koreans, and it says, under law in Korea, all electronic devices in Korea must be certified by the National Radio Research Agency that there is no risk of harming the radio wave environment. Without getting certified, you cannot use the device in Korea. And of course, well, what is this device? Is it just the Series X that's rumored to have no hard drive, that it's going to be all digital? Potentially. Is it, well, the rumored handheld that's in development? Possibly. For me, I hope it's the handheld. I know that Sarah Bond had said that this fall we're going to get some new hardware information. Now, I don't know if that's a release. I don't know, maybe in June, Fuzzy Belvedere, we get an actual unveiling of this rumored handheld. I think that if they added a handheld and they jumped Sony, because Sony does not have a well, hold on a sec. They do have a handheld, but not a traditional handheld like a ROG Ally or a Steam Deck. Now, I've seen the PlayStation Portal in person. I've held it. I've played games on it. It's pretty impressive. That screen is dope. The fact that it doesn't have anything hardware on there is what kept me from buying it, because I'm not going to sit on the couch in front of a 65-inch banger of a TV to play that handheld. When I have a PlayStation 5 ready to rock and roll, I'm not going to do that. Some people do. And if you do, awesome. Yeah. I want a traditional take-on-the-go handheld like a ROG Ally, but that is Xbox branded, and that, of course, has an operating system that's just like an Xbox. Turn it on, you see a screen, you get a dashboard, you go. That's what I want. Could it be that, Fuzzy Belvedere?
I think it's leaning to being something different than what's currently under the hood for the series consoles. Like, if it was just a minor update kind of thing, much like the Series S 1 terabyte, they wouldn't even bother registering a new dev kit. Right. Now, there have been times where they've registered a dev kit that was like I wouldn't say a placeholder, but like an early iteration, like an alpha, and then they replace it with more or closer to release dev kits later on. But it's strange because of the timing, because normally that registration pops up within like 6 to 12 months, usually closer to the 6 months or less time frame, that dev kit will pop up before the release of whatever the dev kit is for. So could it be Keystone? Possibly. Which was
Interesting.
like
I forgot about that. Yes.
that streaming device that would be like almost like an Apple TV, but for gaming, specifically for Xbox gaming. Could it be the handheld, which I'm kind of hoping it is, because we've heard some rumblings in the background that they've well, I wouldn't say investigated, but they've definitely looked at like a portable Series S equivalent, which if you look at the stats of the Series S, that's already above like your Steam Deck and to some extent the ROG Ally on the lower end. If you go full bore with the better chipset, then it's a little bit tougher deal. But I think there was always that question of like the battery life and things like that, basically turning a Series S into a portable. If they're able to incorporate, an MPU, or, we see these partnerships with NVIDIA, we see partnerships with Intel. We hear rumblings that, the Surface team is involved
Yes.
with upcoming hardware. It definitely kind of leans towards that portable, and what better culmination of all these brands that they've been working with in the background, and to include AMD, because they could have the AI chipset from NVIDIA, they could have the main CPU or APU come from AMD, and then something else completely could be from Intel mixed in there, although that would be a lot of stuff mixed in there. But you could have the workings of a portable that has an AI chip that will help with the resolution when you, let's say, dock it to your TV, and allows the resolution to look even better on that smaller screen. Like you should be able to get like 1080 to look like crisp, clear 1080 or better, having it where it has its own built-in upscaler. And we've seen even software notes for like Windows is getting something that'll be a little bit better than FSR kind of worked into the software as is. So I'm kind of hoping that we see a Steam Deck-esque kind of thing from Xbox here sooner rather than later. Or even if it's, maybe that next gen console that, I mean, it is a bit early for it to be the 2026, rumored release of the next gen console, but who knows? Maybe because you have to realize Microsoft probably does a lot of R&D, and there's a lot of throwaway stuff, just like Apple. Like they just threw away the car that they've spent like 3 or 4 years, kind of investigating, and they've had rolling mules where it's probably basically a reskinned or like donated, outer chassis of like a Prius, but the innards were probably whatever they were working on, kind of thing. Microsoft does similar things with hardware and software stuff throughout time, and maybe they already had like a next gen thing already in the workup, and they were like, you know what, let's ditch the idea on the refresh, like we've kind of heard that they have, and they're like, you know what, well, we already know what the PS5 Pro is going to be like. We already have a rough idea because of our partners with AMD what the PS6 might be capable of. Let's cut to the chase. Let's do this. Or, that project that, we were spinning up a year or two ago. I think that's ready. And I think we can bring it in at the price point and with the tech and the software, because we have a line of games on the roadmap that'll make it worth our while to go ahead and, either jump this, timing, or, make sure that, we can get on more screens, because you can take the screen with you now without having to rely on the internet or streaming or anything along those lines. So I'm hoping it's a handheld or the next gen console, whatever the case may be, although leaning more towards a handheld, because I like Steele was kind of saying, we still haven't really tapped into what these boxes are capable of. But a handheld, for me, I play so much on my Steam Deck. Like I've repurchased Sifu on my Steam Deck. I've repurchased movies on my Steam Deck. I've repurchased what do you call it? Vampire Survivor on my Steam Deck. So, and yeah, I know some of those I could probably play with like the Game Pass app and stuff like that, but I want to have it where even when I like, because hotel Wi-Fi sometimes sucks. So if I'm on the road, going to one of those like horror conventions or another cruise or something, and I don't want to have to rely on the internet, I want to have it where I have it on the hard drive, and something that plays games natively as opposed to a streaming device like the Portal is up my alley. So fingers crossed that's hopefully what that SKU that popped up is.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm right there with you. If it is a handheld, I'm there day one. There's not even a question. Especially if it's an Xbox branded device. Not because it's an Xbox branded device, it's gonna have an OS that I am familiar with. I hope that it literally is identical to what you get when you turn on your Xbox. Now, real quick, shout out to Lethal Papa, best modder in the business. He actually sent me a screenshot. Now, for some reason, it's the craziest thing. This is how you know there's a problem with YouTube. I've been having an issue with subs. Normally we don't, right? Like, we average about 100 and I think 70 subs a month, but that's relatively low. We have had only 39 in the last 28 days, which is very odd. So on my screen, on my software, it's saying that we have 1,363 people here. So when I go to YouTube, which I'm there now, it says that we have 541 people in the chat. So there is something up, and I actually reached out to YouTube. Now, again, if you're not a content creator, maybe you don't know, you can't like call customer service and get in touch with somebody unless you are 100,000 subscribers or more, and only then do you get like an email like, "Hey, Johnny, I'm having a problem." There's a problem with YouTube going on. There's definitely a problem. Now that because of what's happening with my subs and why it says I have 1,300 people, because we average about 800 in the chat normally. I don't know. If you're here, let them know you're here by hitting the like button, and we'll see what happens. But again, shout out to everyone that's here. Steele, let's get your hot take on the information that has been provided via numerous websites. I happen to use VGC. They did just certify a new piece of tech. Now, is it new? Is it a Series X digital? We don't know. Is it a handheld? Is it the little device that we saw on Phil's shelf that's going to be like an Apple TV? And look, the fact of the matter is that if it is a handheld, it's going to do bank numbers in Korea. It's going to do bank numbers in Japan, because those regions now are more handheld and mobile gamers than traditional console gamers that they once were. That's just the way it is in those countries. I think this would be a W for Xbox if they did have a handheld for this fall. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I'm Matt brought that up last night on FSP. I believe it was Matt, about just the possibility of their having the handheld at the end of the year. I think that would be extremely unique, and actually that threw me for a loop, because it's one of those things to where if you see how their partnerships and everything are going, it would be extremely easy, especially with how much they've been supporting the ROG Ally. If they don't come out with their own version of that, like an Xbox branded version of they call it the Xbox Ally as an example, and it would be the easiest name to end up implementing as well. And I don't think ROG would end up having a problem with that. They'll probably still put their name somewhere on it, because that's all that they care about, because they don't sell software per se. So if you can get them to sell more hardware, then boom, you got a partner that is willing to do business with you on every front. So that could be one of the possibilities there. And one of the, and I think to me, that's probably the easiest possibility in overall. I was also thinking a little bit about it, because it can only be so many things unless the dev kit's going out, because I was talking a little bit about this, because we know that they're trying to involve AI along with ARM into the next console, whether that's a hybrid console, handheld, one that you could dock, whatever, or if it's just a direct console. If they're able to do, if they are implementing these things, there is a possibility they could be trying to test out some things with some devs to say, hey, Korea, we see the kind of games that you're making. Try this dev kit out, see what's possible, see how much the AI helps with some of that back end work that you got to do. Does it give you X amount of space? Does it help with the performance at all? And if you can answer a lot of those questions early, machine learning, how is that going to that next iteration of that? How is that going to perform for y'all? So if you can get all these things hammered out before you get like more of the hardware based things like the exact graphics card, exact RAM, the exact all processor, all that great stuff, because they're always going to have some form of a baseline, I would imagine at least. And if it's just like little software things that you're updating or stuff on the board that you're updating, because again, I think it was Psycho last night. He did a little bit of research on it, and they do iterate on the dev kits. Because that was just something that was just going on into the wind about, because it just made sense to me that you would iterate on a dev kit, because things do change. You can't predict where technology is going to be in 2 years. DLSS can be super dope right now. It could be the best thing that we have, but maybe the PSS SR is going to be the next best thing. Who knows? Now, I don't believe that it will, because AMD hasn't shown me anything to think that that's going to be a possibility, but we never know. And there's so many other software solutions that are now coming out, that helps hardware perform a little bit better, maybe more efficiently, and things of that nature. So that's kind of where my head is at with that, is that maybe they're getting devs kit out, because again, if they're going to launch in 2026, 2 years after the PlayStation 5 Pro or whatever the case, 26, 27, if you're messing with AI and all that great stuff, you want to see what is the true potential of that before you dive head deep into it. And then you say, all right, get these, let's start manufacturing this product, right? Or this hardware, and get it to market. So that's kind of where my head is at with it. And that's just kind of me pulling myself back and kind of looking at it from that RTS view, seeing how things are becoming more PC-like in some ways. And that's kind of where PC is going, because there's not many more different changes that you can make to a PC, as an example, to make it better outside of hardware. And what I've been seeing on PC is that they're trying to find more software solutions, so that even people on the baseline of the hardware or at the bottom line of the hardware, that minimum spec that you're talking about, that they'll have more potential to play some of the newer games, or that they'll be able to get more use out of their hardware. So that's kind of where my head is at with that. It would be super dope if this ends up being a play for the handheld market. Again, you don't have to do much. If it performs right along the edge, like Fuzzy was saying, right along the edge of the Series S, right there with the ROG Ally, again, that just makes the most sense, because we know that the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck can play current games. Now, how long will they play current games? I don't know. What I do know is 720p on that screen versus 720p on a console is two different stories, right? And that could be much more acceptable on a device. 720p, 60, I take it on the go. Maybe it upscales to, if I get a base, it's, maybe $100 or $50 to $100. It upscales it to 1080p, maybe 1440. So you get something that's much better than what you've seen from the Switch, but something that's still in between your Xbox ecosystem and that device. So that would make the most sense to me, that ROG and Xbox kind of deepened their partnership a bit, and said, Xbox was like, hey, we like what you guys got going on. How about we just back it, make an all black version? It makes the most sense. I have a white ROG Ally right now, and that's the only one that they have. What if they end up delivering a black one and it just has the Xbox branding on there? I think that just would make too much sense.
It would make a lot of sense. Like I said, for the region that it's currently being the information came from, it makes perfect sense, because they have become mobile gamers. They have become gamers that like portables.
Right.
Obviously, the hybrid, as it's being called, is something you can take on the go. I would imagine it's going to be a simplified, but again, this is all speculation, folks. I'd love to see a simplified version of the ROG Ally, Xbox branded, meaning that I guess if you're going to leave the PC aspect on it, there's got to be a way for it to have just a load up screen OS like an Xbox would. If they have that, and of course, if you are a tinkerer, if you will, and you want to go into the back end and do all the PC stuff, good on you. For me, I don't want that in my handheld device. I have it with the ROG Ally, and I love the ROG Ally, and I use it sparingly, because I'm not a PC guy. I'm looking for is a traditional turn on the handheld, you get a load screen, You know, all your games are there. Your menu is there. You can save games to the hard drive. You can play on the go. You can, when there's Wi-Fi, you can hook up with it and just go. That's what I'm looking for. I hope that's what this is.
Yeah, I unfortunately, Boom, I think it's not going to be that. I think we're at least a couple years away from that, because the unfortunate thing about Microsoft is I don't think that they want to use a different operating system for that. So they're going to want to use a version of Windows Lite,
Yep.
more than likely. And Windows Lite has just recently, I mean, again, unless you're a tinkerer, you can definitely get it working much sooner than later. But if you're talking about on a global market, as far as it just being there and being available, I think they're probably at least a couple years away. We'll see Windows 12 before that's even a possibility, especially off of everything, because a lot of things I've seen with Windows 11 was really more so speaking to more of the gamer, or people that were doing production and type of things like that. So it would only make sense that they would further that going into Windows 12. So again, unfortunately, yeah, I think we're still a couple years away from that, just because Steam big picture mode still isn't, to me at least. I don't like when it ever pops up, but I haven't ever used it. I don't have a Steam Deck, so I don't truly know what that experience is like. From everybody that I've talked to about it, though, the main thing that they do say is they do like the Steam Deck over the ROG Ally, because the Steam Deck does have its own OS, right? It literally is your Steam library. Is easy to understand, whereas Xbox is kind of convoluted because they're doing so many other things behind the scenes. Your cloud saves, cross save, cross platform, play anywhere. Like, there's so many other like things behind the scenes that get rolled into this, where Steam doesn't necessarily have that. If it's Steam, it's Steam. It just works. Xbox is trying to cross so many different borders, so it's like, would I prefer them to limit what we're getting or minimize what they've done up to this point, just so they can get an easy OS on that device? I wouldn't necessarily say so. I don't know. It just depends. But I do think it's a slap in the face to both Nintendo, because the Switch is pushed back to next year, and then the PlayStation Portal hasn't been doing as great as they probably have imagined. And for a device that can only play your games through Wi-Fi off your device, this could be a slap in the face to both sides, and breed that competition that we always talk about as well.
Yep.
If they do release an Xbox branded handheld at the end of the year, like, oh, Nintendo, we were able to release one, and PlayStation, we released a device that was similar to your PSP back in the day. What happened? Yeah, and I would love to see them do Crash come out on stage with the Xbox Ally, and he's like, apparently Xbox does what Sony can't.
That would be kind of dope. I'm not going to front. That would be kind of cool. I don't think they'd do something so scandalous, but they should.
They should.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it. We had 3 topics. We got to them. Everyone's able to drop their bars. Hopefully you liked the conversation enough to hit the like button before you get out of here. Of course, if you're finding the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing. It would be pretty dope to kind of get some subs today. Again, apologies for the false positive. It says here that we have almost 1,400 people here, and my software, there's nothing wrong with my software. My software is directly linked to YouTube. I think what this ultimately does for me is confirm that there is a problem. Something's going on. I'm not the only creator that's been talking about this on the socials. This is affecting big YouTubers. It's affecting startups and people like myself who are somewhere in the somewhat mushy middle. Again, the only way that we can do is what can I do? Well, I can go out and complain like I did and get a robotic message from YouTube, and that's what I got. And just push forward. So if you like the show, hit the like button. If you are unsub, please consider subscribing, and let's get to the outros. We'll start first with Steel Rain. He's got to go to get, to handle some family stuff. So we want to make sure he gets on out of here. Steel Rain, sell your brand, kind sir. Living Split Screen, Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where him and Pong Soul do sometimes a 3, 4, even 5-hour show where they drop it like it's hot, as the kids like to say. Sell your brand, brother. Where can people subscribe? And more importantly, follow you on social media?
Well, if you guys needed any proof that Halo Infinite was just getting better, There was a network update that just went out today. I believe that was today.
Anti-cheating, yes.
So definitely check that out, ladies and gentlemen. Halo's getting better than ever, and maybe there's some a view into things to come. We'll see. Anyway, you can find me, Steel Rain. That's Steel Rain. The T is a 7 everywhere. Wherever there's a search bar, you just type that in. You'll more than likely find me. I do frequent the streets of Twitter, otherwise known as X, and the Xbox ecosystem. Mainly just because it works so well between the console and PC and anywhere else that I would like to play. And if you would definitely come join us on Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. UK time on a non-console centric podcast. Shout out to Matt for pointing that out, that I've been saying it wrong this entire. I never noticed that I was saying it wrong. I was saying eccentric versus centric, and I meant centric, so that's been interesting. Non-console centric platform talking about everything going on within the gaming industry. And yeah, I've been flooding Living Split Screen. I've been uploading more content. I've broke our 5-hour podcast down to about 1 hour spurts, just for those people that maybe you only have an hour, but it's going to be in its own playlist and all that great stuff. So definitely check us out there. Trying to push out more content, and also be on the lookout. Dragon's Dogma 2. I'm planning on doing a let's play. Gonna have a week that I'll be able to get it in and really do that. I may not have the time after, but we'll see. But I definitely wanted to at least get one of my first ones out there, see how people feel about it, because there are still a lot of people who are questionable about Dragon's Dogma 2. So if you want to come hang out with in a chill stream, sometimes commentary, sometimes without, definitely come check that out on Living Split Screen and my personal channel as well, Steel Rain. And other than that, Xbox Factor podcast every Tuesday right here with Mr. BoomStick XL. And there's not a better place to be, as Boom is one of the pillars of the community. And I greatly appreciate everybody in chat for coming through. Y'all continue to have magnificent conversations, engaging conversations as well. And much love to y'all. Even if nobody spoke to you, I want you to know I see you, I hear you, and I want to show you much love. And hopefully you have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, brother, thank you so much. But yeah, I know a lot of people talking about Flush Jackson's looking forward to Dogma 2. Yeah, I bought it today, as a matter of fact. I bought the deluxe edition, as I normally do on all my games, PlayStation, Nintendo. If there's a deluxe edition, I usually get it. I know, Steel, you were talking about it on FSP last night, that you popped in for a hot second. You said that you were just going to get the regular edition because there really wasn't much to the extra edition. It was $10 more, right? So I went with it. It's fine. I'm looking forward to it. I'm getting a. I played the original. I did like the original. Didn't love it. But I think I'm gonna dig this. It's Capcom. I am a fan of the original. I'm looking forward to getting into this. That custom creator, I have not messed with it. But I've seen some crazy good things. I've seen The Witcher. I've seen Devil May Cry characters made. It's just crazy what you can do with that game. So I know you said you got 3 or 4 hours in just a custom creator, character creator. I'm definitely gonna get down with that. I know I can download it. I'm probably gonna do that today and mess with it this evening. But
get it ready.
I'm looking forward to it. Fuzzy Belvedere, sell the brand, brother. Tell everyone for the best place for anything and everything in the racing genre on your YouTube channel. What other shows you got going on? And more importantly, where can people find you on social media?
Oh, just want to thank you guys for having me on today. Really wanted to jump into the conversation yesterday, but like I said, it was on the road, but awesome being here with you guys today. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks for interacting with us and checking us out. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. For those that want to just hear my rambles, rants, or anything else gaming related that I talk about on social media, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on Breakfast with Boom right here on this channel, 10 a.m. Friday morning. Later in the evening, Xbox Ultimate on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shop Podcast Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on PTK Blam's channel. Pixelated Echoes on the Pixelated Echoes channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. And then right back here on this channel for Xbox Lunch Break Special, 12 noon. Look forward to seeing you guys there. And thanks so much for having me on.
Appreciate you being here, brother. And of course, a big thank you to everyone that tuned in. Of course, hit that like button before you get out. consider subscribing. And if you're feeling extra generous, share this out on social media. It would be greatly appreciated. That's going to do it for us. Hopefully you did, in fact, like the show. A big thank you to all of the super chats that have come in. I did get channel membership messages. Of course, thank you for supporting the channel through channel membership and, of course, the super chats. And we are going to be doing it big this year. We're giving away over $3,500 worth of prizes in the second half of the year, September through December, as we did normally. And this year we added a couple extra contests and some more money to it because obviously, people are generous, so we want to give back to the community, and we truly enjoy doing that. Of course, I'm going to close out the show, folks, with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully, one day will be important to you, and that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, "Craig, treat others how you want to be treated, and also it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day." So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.